Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill. My name is Heidi Sigmakuda and I'm here with Jim Stearson of High Fidelity. We are an investigative show about
Did you have
disinformation.
hold on? Did you have a small stroke? Okay.
Not today, Satan, not today.
You're not smelling toast or
No,
tasting metallic.
I
Okay.
didn't drop any acid and I
Ooh.
have not done any mushrooms, although I cannot say for sure that my partners have not done
A
any.
bit of
So
toast would be lovely, actually.
As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, um, so we are an investigative show about disinformation, except not on Thursday nights. We're a sweary, sometimes humorous show about disinformation. And generally, we are a recap. The Thursday night recap is kind of a live version. We talk about some of the things that we talked about in our episode earlier in the week. But lately, because of the news cycle, we've been focusing on being nimble and doing some breaking news, like our news breaker out of Florida when the Florida fascist Ron DeSantis had some goons arrest the leaders of the Democratic Party when they were peacefully protesting. We also did a newsbreaker with a music artist out of the UK who I am completely bananas about, called Sleaford Mods. And it was very important because I have a bone to pick with the artists of our times. I don't think there's enough protest music being written. In the 60s, we had lots and lots of protest music, and this is a time when we desperately need it. And at least Sleaford Mods are rising to the occasion and writing music about the grim realities of UK's political and economic structure. Yes, hi-fi.
Number 10 can't give me that Bruce Banner. I got crisis stamina, full marathon, 4 poop breaks. I can feel the ship from your crisis race. Spray out my back, because in England, nobody can hear you scream, you're just fog lads. This is UK Grim, keep that desk area tidy, put it in the bin. This is UK Grim. This is UK Grim, keep that desk area tidy. This is UK Grim.
So you guys just got a sense of why I'm bananas about their music, and we were so lucky to get Jason, the lyricist. Yeah, Jim.
I'm just astonished and amazed that somebody could rhyme tidy and grim. That is some fucking. That is some sorcery. I don't know how he did that shit, but it totally worked. That was outstanding.
Jason Williamson is so amazing and so humble, and
Tidy,
he
grim.
was, as he tells his story, he was born a creative in a time of austerity and just working dead end job after dead end job, and finally he was like, he hit a bottom, and he's like, I'm just going to write about the reality that I'm living, and of course the rest is fucking punk rock history. I love their music so much because it combines so many things that I love, and it's just so authentic. And we'll have a couple clips from Jason from our breaker. Yeah, so that's my mood right now, UK Grim. So lots shaken, but why don't you guys, tell me what's on your minds tonight?
I don't know. I've been very interested in OG
Yeah,
in Jack Teixeira,
yeah,
uh, who is the 21-year-old chap from the Air National Guard,
yeah.
who was just arrested in Massachusetts. And this guy was uh, started a Discord server in 2020 during the pandemic when a lot of this stuff started. And this guy, pulled off some teenagers out of a gaming forum, which also included there was about 24 people there, and about half of them, over half, according to several of the members, were foreign nationals, including people from Russia. So this guy had access to classified information because he was apparently in top secret IT, basically, and had access to information going by, and apparently, got his hands on really, really, really very, very fucking sensitive shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, like
Yeah.
hundreds of classified documents, all largely pertaining to the war in Ukraine. And this guy had a fucking Discord for a couple of years where he was sharing these documents with these kids and grooming them at the same time into
Right.
guns.
Yeah.
He was in the military and super proud of the fact that he was in the military and did lots and lots of shooting of guns and training of these youngsters, these children, these fucking teenagers.
Yeah.
Their guns are awesome. He was super into Orthodox Christianity, which is, super interesting. Not bad in and of itself, but when you mix it with all this other shit, bad.
Yeah. Guns and God.
Also, it was called Thug Shaker Central because it was a bunch of racists and
Right.
anti-Semites. There's video of Jack Teixeira, nicknamed OG, shooting guns and yelling anti-Semitic and racist epithets at the target that he's shooting with the fucking gun, right? So the kids, the children in this chat room, in this Discord chat room, felt like this was their family. The kids, the children who started in this chat room when they were 15 with a grown-ass adult who was in the fucking military, these kids were being groomed and indoctrinated into racism, anti-Semitism, also misogyny and toxic masculinity. This guy saw himself as sort of an Andrew Tate of sorts, a big macho man who had all kinds of super secret access to classified material. And so he netted all these kids with it. Some of the people in the room were not clear who the fuck they were, other than they were from foreign countries, including Russia.
Yeah. Well,
so this guy was, just to reiterate, in a chat room with a bunch of kids and foreign nationals, indoctrinating them into a combination, a Christo-fascist, neo-Nazi ideology with anti-American, anti-government thought at its core.
So
this is I'm going to finish in a second. I will land this plane. I promise.
Sure.
This is a one example of a systemic, problem, which is that we've got all of these platforms around, which include Twitter and Telegram and Discord, where people can create cults easily with no fucking problem at all. Because they can create an insulated group. So I'm just going to say this as a fucking parent. You need to know what your kids are doing. Yeah. What chat rooms are they fucking in?
Yeah.
If your kid tells you, "Ooh, it's just a video game chat room," so was this.
Yeah.
This was a video game chat room where they were sharing racist memes and classified, no foreign, which means no foreign fucking eyes should be on this, documents.
Yeah.
So your kids can be in all kinds of shit, and you need to know what they're up to. Thank you for coming to my first fucking TED Talk of the night.
I hope it won't be the last. I want to say that having written a book with the real OG, which stands for Original Gangster, having written a book with Ice-T, it's not lost on me that a white supremacy racist chat group would try to co-opt OG. I find that to be pretty disgusting, number one. Number two, you were the one who alerted me to the fact that the Buffalo shooter was in a chat room with the next Fed from Texas. So I'm very curious if there might be some sort of network, much as we have seen when we had Dr. Mia Bloom on talking about, the various cells and how the, ISIS cells work. If there might not be something like that underfoot in America, I can't imagine this would be the only chat room. And then the Buffalo shooter in a chat room and the people that we know personally in chat rooms. So is this how they are grooming their shooters? Is this how they are finding ways to create the chaos and destabilization events? Is this a pattern, is what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a pattern since 4chan and 8chan.
Why don't you explain that to our viewers a little bit?
Go ahead, Jim. I'm doing my thing.
Okay. Yeah, it is a pattern. One of the architects of all of this, as we know, if you've been watching this show, is fucking Mike Flynn, who sells a book on something called Fifth Generation Warfare. Fifth Generation Warfare is this.
Okay.
It's about Fifth Generation Warfare is selling instructions on how to create cults, how to psyop your neighbors into killing your neighbors. Like the whole idea of fourth generation warfare, which is where Mike Flynn's Fifth Generation Warfare comes from.
Okay.
Comes from a guy named William Lind, whose whole idea was to create civil war and unrest in America through identity politics and psyops. Identity politics, again, is really important. Is when people intentionally try to create an identity in you that is stronger than the social fabric that you are part of.
Right.
Right? So you become my identity is QAnon, or my identity is anti-vax, or my identity is I hate the government, or whatever the fuck it is. It becomes more important than your citizenry,
right,
than your neighbors, than, in some cases, your family. And that is the core function of all of this. So yes, it's all part of the same thing. Now, do I know if fucking Jack Teixeira and, any of these people have it? I have no idea. And it doesn't matter at all.
right.
That's not the point. The point is not, there's some black hat guy who's going around and telling these people the same thing. I don't fucking know where these people are getting these ideas exactly from, although I hope to find out. The point is that the source of them and the purpose of them is the same.
It sounds like a terrible playbook, and I'm sure more will be revealed on this. It's distressing because we've been reporting on this kind of stuff for years, and I've been reporting repeatedly in my Substack on chaos and destabilization events preceding fascist power grabs. So we cannot look at these things in isolation. We cannot look at the, escalation in shooting, the power grid assaults, all of that in isolation. These are chaos and destabilization events. And I would add that what we're seeing in our state houses is also part of that chaos and destabilization. And we had a vibrant weekend with the community that I built through Substack with David Pepper, the author of Laboratories of Autocracy, kind of giving us all like sort of a pep talk. And I wrote about it because I want people to know that there are so many things that we can do together, things that we can focus on. And one of the takeaways that I got is that we have collectively, as pro-democracy, citizens, been too willing to A, obey in advance, and B, allow bullies to set the narrative. And I think that we are starting to finally see people get it, that the bullying and the distraction is all part of throwing us on our back foot so we don't actually do the kind of trench work that we need to, go on the type of offense that we need to in order to preserve our imperfect but sacred democracy. And I was very happy to see in Wisconsin that people understood what was at stake. And I'm very happy to see in Tennessee that people realized that they didn't have to be bullied, that they could actually protest and have an impact. So more of that, because I think that we're going to see these headlines and this escalation of desperation, which is a quote from Hi-Fi, repeatedly. Every day, there will be multiple things to be very outraged about. And it's our job to not continually lurch from distraction to distraction and fall into despair, but to focus on whatever work needs to be done. Because we have seen in the past that minorities can take over. The minority group can take over countries through fascist techniques, but we have the benefit of history, so we know what to look for. And I'd like Hi-Fi to weigh in before he gets too stoned to contribute articulately. Welcome to my TED Talk.
All right, then. Actually, so no, what we're seeing now with the escalation of desperation is this one is for all the marbles, because the other side understands that if we win and we expose all the intrigue, all the foreign support, all the espionage, all the everything that is going on. I mean, it's obvious we need another church commission for private intelligence agencies in this country, given what's just come out about Tiger Swan, right?
Yes.
But the other side is on their back foot in that they're like, oh shit, we really, really, really need to fight, because if they figure out what we've been doing, we're in a lot of trouble.
And you said something really brilliant earlier today about what this actually is. And I would like you to try to repeat it for our viewers, because you had a very simple, concise way to look at exactly what we are fighting, what we three and our allies are actually fighting.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
On Jim's Zoom, you basically summed up the combination of groups that have aligned themselves against liberal democracy. Yeah. Let's hear it, Hi-Fi.
So, hold on a second. I need a drink for this. Basically,
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Basically, what we are facing right now is a global plot by a group of billionaire supervillains, corrupt, megalomaniacal politicians, former military personnel, and a whole shitload of trolls and psychopaths who are attempting to destabilize the world and overthrow democracy. That's what we got.
Yeah, and maybe we need to put it on a t-shirt or repeat it every episode, because that framework is super helpful. Seeing how they've coalesced and how they've come together. I've written volumes on it, but to be able to put something in a sentence, I think is very, very useful. Also, Jim, one of your friends said something really brilliant today. As you guys know, because you helped me with it, I wrote last year the Musk story about, well, everybody else was talking about the dumb money that he spent. I was focusing on the assault on truth and how Twitter was going to be turned into a Russian propaganda outlet. And it has hastily, with speed. That's exactly what it's become. But one of your friends pointed out something really, really brilliant that I think is possibly so obvious. I don't know why I didn't see it, but that there could be a merger between Twitter and Rumble. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because when I heard that my skin crawled because it sounded like
Yeah,
a logical conclusion of this.
yeah. No, I think I wrote that almost a year ago,
Okay.
when because Peter, I think when Peter Thiel, because Peter Thiel was one of the people who convinced Musk, Peter Thiel and David Sachs convinced Elon Musk to take over Twitter. Peter Thiel is the one responsible for Rumble. Rumble used to be, if you're not familiar, a tiny cat video share, literally like all it was almost entirely pet videos, funny little video website. And Peter Thiel took it over. It's in Canada, and now it is a Kremlin psyop. That's all it is. Literally, that is all it is. And so it was pretty. And it's also, by the way, a public company. So you, American citizen, can buy futures in Kremlin propaganda.
Wow, that's fucked
Think
up.
about that. A
That's fucked
public
up.
company, you can take $8 and go to fucking your Schwab and buy a share in Kremlin propaganda or whatever the fuck. So,
Okay.
yes, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk have been allied. Also, Jack Dorsey, by the way. The reason why he's calling this thing X and he's doing all this bullshit is because Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk have been fucking conspiring for years to take Twitter and repurpose it into whatever their batshit, dumbass, libertarian space idea is for fucking social media in the future, which includes stuff like you can share Bitcoin and Dogecoin and Kitty coin and whatever the fuck kind of coin, like at the same time as you're like tweeting to your friends. Like it's this kind of this idea of creating an insulated place where people like Elon Musk can not only control your thoughts but control your money, control the information. It's all part of their bananas idea to merge all of this shit into a spaceship to Mars.
So why my heart is
By the
breaking?
way, last thought.
Yes, Jen.
Importantly, David Sachs, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel, they're all PayPal Mafia members. What else do they have in common?
South
They
Africa.
all grew up in apartheid. All three of them grew up in apartheid. I want you to absorb that. That's all three of them grew up in apartheid. Thank you for that question.
My heartbreak is that all the allies that I have who are my, like ride or die, you know, just allies in real life, I met originally on Twitter. We interviewed UK Grimm because some guy in the UK was rocking out to their music because he was pissed about what was happening in the UK on Twitter. So much of what is meaningful to me in the real world, the team I work with at Byline Media, Byline Supplement, Byline Times, the people that we interview on our show who are the best minds in the battle against the fascist creep, are all people that we met on Twitter and then got to know in real life, because I think it's important that we meet people in real life as much as possible. So the fact that this is being smashed up and turned into something that's so grotesque is quite tragic. And I'm not going to leave until the bitter end. That's my choice. And that's because I feel like the work I do to counteract the Kremlin active measures and the chaos and destabilization that is occurring is of some value. And so I'm not leaving till the bitter end, but I understand people leaving. If you don't need to be there, as Jim has always said, by all means, go live a happy life. I mean, I was kind of not joking when I said maybe a yurt is in my future, because this shit is unpleasant.
Yeah.
But it was so important, and it still is. So yeah, I mean, what a tragedy.
PSA. If you don't need to, I'll say one thing and then I'll shut up. If you don't need to be on Twitter, get the fuck off Twitter. It's there to
If you're not
fucking
a
psyop you.
journalist or an activist,
Unless, you can be there for whatever reason you want, but just know why you're there and that you're behind enemy lines and that you are constantly under attack. That's what Twitter is for now. And it's just, if you're going to be there, just know what you're doing, know why
Yeah.
you're there, and know that God knows anybody around you could be anybody the fuck they,
yeah.
could be anyone at this point, right? It's just a mess.
My
Be advised.
my block finger always has smoke coming off of it, because I'm
Or
just like
means
block, 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 block.
Go to Mastodon or something.
Hi-Fi.
Sorry, somebody was making fun of me farting or something.
So
Weird comments. No, hold on a second. No, I did have something to say.
We were just talking
about Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you have to understand nothing. I mean, yes, some things on Twitter are real. Maybe not. Maybe they're all made up. But you see a lot of things about people on Twitter. And this week I had the pleasure of watching Mr. Michael McFaul, former ambassador to Russia, actually respond to a troll in a very professional manner.
Yeah, he's great.
And he cited works and everything. And I had to go into his thread and be like, Mr. McFaul, no. You don't interact with the trolls. And if you do have to interact with the trolls, do it simply through your mom jokes.
I saw that. Yeah.
And then I proceeded to make your mom jokes with trolls in his thread for the next, I don't know, couple hours.
I saw that. So I'm very, very proud of the group that we are allied with, the people, the individuals who are so brave and so many of them so brilliant. I mean, gosh, I could name so many names of the people who came on our show. If you're new to what RadPod does, check out our archives on YouTube. We have interviewed David Pepper, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, Jason Stanley, Mia Bloom, Martin Scheel, Evita March, all these minds, Jackie Singh, that are so incredible. This was really a way to lead up to Jackie Singh. Like you, Hi-Fi, and like myself, and like Jim, we don't like bullies. Jackie doesn't like bullies either. So what did Jackie do? She went into one of the foulest places and actually figured out who was really trying to hurt somebody intentionally for a long time. And she figured out who they were and let them know that she was going to expose them. And what did the bully do? The bully begged her not to, which goes back to the thesis that David Pepper schooled my community over the weekend. Stand up to bullies. If enough people do it, the bullies generally turn out to be terrible cowards. And what is more cowardly than the people that hide behind anonymous accounts and just spread hate terrorism all day? That's the most cowardly thing in the world. And I would imagine it would be pretty soul-sucking too. And speaking of people who don't like bullies, one of our friends who doesn't like bullies actually did something pretty amazing this week. I'm just going to let it go there.
Okay, I'll talk about it. Hold on. Let me bring it up. Jesus. I was waiting for this. We're talking about this thing.
That was a very interesting story because some of the hate terrorist accounts that hide behind anonymity actually linked right to the registered foreign agent who works for DeSantis. So I found that interesting.
Yes. Christina Pushaw, Ron DeSantis what is she, press secretary now?
She was, and now she's one of his campaign director. She's a campaign director.
Campaign director is a registered foreign agent. I'm sure this is fine.
She only registered as a foreign agent when she was exposed as being a foreign agent. Yes. So it was a retroactive registration. But I find it interesting because when you talk about the network, it's interesting that they all kind of tie to the same bad actors.
I find that generally you can identify the bad actors by whether or not they have whether or not they've fundraised on Give Send Go. That seems to be my indicator.
That is like hi-fi sweet spot, man.
Yeah, that's your sweet spot. It's not always.
One of these days, somebody's going to pay fucking attention to it and be like, okay, let's look at your financial records.
Okay. But here's another way. If somebody does 35,000 tweets about you,
yeah, you might be an
that
you might be an op. They might be an op.
If somebody
wait a second.
30 fucking months lying about a stranger.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. If somebody does 35,000 tweets about somebody, anonymously, by the way, because that takes no courage, Zippo, right? Just anonymous, and then deletes them all, they might be an op.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Joe Flynn?
No.
If somebody does almost 500,000 tweets and deletes 400,000 of them, they might be an op.
Yeah, but here's the question. Here's the question that I would like answered by Twitter. If you've received thousands of complaints from real people who risk their everything to fight the fascist creep and get harassed 24/7 on your platform by these anonymous accounts that are essentially Twitter assassins, and the Twitter executives do nothing about it, despite the thousands of complaints that are lodged at them. What is that about?
Well,
what is that about?
There's two different stories entirely. There's pre-Elmo and then there's Elmo, right? Pre-Elmo, these people fucking worked for Twitter. They're literally. I'm
laughing because it's like
literally worked for Twitter. Were contractors for Twitter Inc. Right?
Yeah.
Now, after Elmo isn't going to get rid of him because Elmo likes it. Elmo wants people to harass other people. Mm-hmm. He wants people to be traumatized, and he ain't going to do a goddamn thing about it. The only upside for me is he doesn't give a shit so much that he forgot and let me back on. Yeah. But otherwise, like, there's never been an incentive to get rid of them. So that's why the tiniest little bit of sunlight made them scream and scatter like, I don't know, like I won't say it.
Cockroaches.
I didn't say that. That's not nice. That's not nice.
So well, they like the ops they are. But what I find interesting is because the harassment for me escalated to death threats. That was interesting to law enforcement. So that went beyond the type of harassment that I think is pretty sadly common these days online. And so we'll see if anybody cares. We'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
Yeah, no, I mean,
maybe we need to talk to more victims of this type of abuse so people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you've got somebody interested. I reported.
I do.
I don't know, hundreds of death threats.
Yeah, well, I included that in the dossier, so they're aware of that too.
Anyway, whatever.
But
I like Hi-Fi's thing. What you are seeing is a bunch of scrambling and screaming and screeching and retracting and backtracking and because they're cornered. There's a bunch of people who are cornered. And their job is getting harder and harder because their job is to try and cover up for something that's fucking blatant to everyone.
Yeah.
And so it used to be something you could get away with calling somebody balloon on for saying, hey, that Matt Taibbi is a Kremlin asset. But you can't do that anymore because it's fucking obvious to everyone on Earth.
Yeah.
So
Thankfully.
there's a reckoning of sorts happening with all the people who've been trying to ride the gray zone for a long time. That's not going to work for very long.
Oh
And
my
now
God.
it is Hi-Fi's turn. I pointed in the right direction.
Hi-Fi's doing ballet with his hands. It's so interesting.
I have such delicious
Delicious.
delicious. I just want everyone to realize something.
Oh no.
Matt Taibbi has made his new home on Truth Social. He has completely lost all relevance to the national dialogue.
It's what happens when you know.
This is how he will live out the rest of his life, right? He will live out the rest of his life subsisting on the scraps that are thrown to him by his mob boss leaders for whatever propaganda they need him to churn out, and whatever he can fucking fleece from the rubes, selling, here's my new book, whatever. But Matt Taibbi has completely destroyed himself, and it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to watch. I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
Well, I don't.
To say one thing, the True Social thing, hat tip to Clayberg, Rosa Ninja, who is crazy enough to get True Social emails. And the first, but it was the first True Social email. Matt Taibbi, who used to pretend to be like somebody who was a whistleblower against the capitalists. The first email, the True Social QAnon fucking Mango Muffin Tops Cash Patel Twitter thing, the first email it sends out is Matt Taibbi. Well done, Matty. Oh, by the way, the other place he makes money is Rumble.
Okay, so what I want to say is I don't partake in the glee that you feel, Hi-Fi. I respect your vindictive streak. It's awesome for the research that you do. I do not share it because I believe that nobody who seeks it is beyond redemption, and perhaps somebody like him might have some interesting information that could be useful in saving our democracy. I won't hold my breath for it, but I certainly would like to think that that anybody who actually decides to
I would agree with that, except for the fact that he sexually harassed underage girls while he was running an anti-American tabloid in Moscow.
I understand that.
Forever. There's no coming back from that.
And when he dies and go to hell, fuck him some more.
Oh, stop it. I am going to retweet the most perfect 84 seconds in the history of RadPod right now. And that is Keir Giles' explainer on what bonds the typical Kremlin operative. The most virulent Russian propagandists are often bonded by some unique characteristics. So I've just retweeted it live for anybody who would like to hear it, who hasn't yet heard it. Interestingly enough, we have a lot of new people paying attention to my work, your work, Hi-Fi. You're getting a lot of traction. And so it's very important that I think we assume nobody knows anything that we've done previously. So that's why when I say Keir Giles, I'm going to retweet it in real time, because I would like people to. He just wrote the book Russia's War on Everybody. If you haven't read it, it's vitally important. But he did an incredible spontaneous explainer on RadPod. Which episode was it? EP 55, where he explains what what unique characteristics the most virulent Russian propagandists have, and it's just totally brilliant. And by the way, that soundbite from Keir Giles on episode 55 is just another day at the office for RadPod, because that is the kind of work that we do all the time.
All right. I feel like we're on a PBS fundraising thing sometimes.
Oh, we are. By the way, thank you to the new Patreons. We have multiple new Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting our work. It's very lovely. We do the work as civic duty, but boy, is it nice when we have some backing, because it's really important
Civic
to be able to
duty.
keep doing it. Yeah, civic duty. Damn straight.
No,
Yeah.
man. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to know what I do
Like
it for?
and subscribe.
I do it for the goddamn lulls. That's what I do it for.
Oh. Yeah, I know. That was funny.
They messed this one up too. I did not leave threats. I did not
Yeah.
leave nasty things. I left acting tips for General Flynn. I wanted him to talk about the I Am cult.
I know.
I wanted him to
High
talk
five.
about theosophy.
Bro,
And I really
know.
wanted him to, like, if you got to get Americans killing Americans, which is what General Flynn wants, you really got to, like, sell the rage, you know?
Bro,
And that's
I know.
all. There was no threat there at all. It was acting tips.
No threats were had when Hi-Fi jumped into the
and
prayer
they have
call.
yet they have yet to
acknowledge that there was no
correct their story. I'm disappointed.
I am disappointed. That is one of my favorite phrases of yours, Hi-Fi. I am disappointed. I might have to cop that.
That's an old internet.
I know. I learn all these old internet. Remember, I was not desensitized by the interwebs. I am past that generation. I'm officially the first potential year of being a boomer.
If Monique Kamara is listening, I'm sorry for pointing out what that building in Dubai really looked like.
Oh, I saw that.
I'm sorry.
It's
true though. I didn't do it. They did.
There are times when you should just not tweet. I think
Look, if you people are intent on being on the internet with me, I'm gonna have to learn you. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. So
Heidi knows what goatsy is now. I mean, what a trauma that was. See?
Bleached my eyes. It was an important lesson, but God, I didn't need to see it. You could have just talked me through it in the future. At least Jim is always like CW, so at least that. So it's Thursday, and so much shit has already happened this week. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I have to look and see what I've been writing about to remember the salient points of the week.
Well, I wanted to say we skipped over it real quick, but the Streisand effect.
Oh yeah.
Is what happens when somebody tries to cancel you, and the process of canceling that person gets them super duper famous. And I wanted to thank the Tennessee House Republican Party for showing not once but twice the greatest example of the Streisand effect I may have ever seen, which is to take totally unknown state representatives and unveil two of the most talented fucking Democrats I've ever seen in my entire life. Totally independently brilliant fucking people who are going to be superstars in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Tennessee House GOP, for your sterling example of the Streisand effect. It will go down for all time as we watch them become president or whatever the fuck they're going to do.
So they created political superstars. I agree with you. And I also want to point out that because I don't memory hole anything, and I learned that from Ruth, and I will say that phrase for Evs. I remember that the Russian propaganda Twitter account 10 GOP that stood for Tennessee GOP, which was a Prigozhin IRA account that I learned about because I read indictments and the Mueller report and everything I can possibly read because I'm nerdy like that. You know who tweeted the 10 GOP account? The Douglas Mackay, the guy who just got tossed into the big house for being a
violation of civil rights by falsely putting out voter disinformation.
2016 election interference. I mean, come on, targeted at the Black community, that fucker. Guess what else? Mike Flynn tweeted Tennessee GOP. Guess who else? Don Jr. tweeted Tennessee GOP. It was one of the most vile, hateful Russian propaganda accounts in 2016, causing election interference. And the Tennessee GOP account, that was a fake account out of St. Petersburg, was tweeted by Flynn Jr. and the gentleman who was just incarcerated for being a election interfering troll. So how about that?
10 GOP was a signaling account, and so the election in 2016 was on November 8th, and Mike Flynn on November 5th tweeted out, "Follow this account and retweet it as often as possible." It like out loud for a IRA Prigozhin Kremlin account 3 days before the election. General Mike Flynn, who still has 3 fucking stars on his chest and ended up being the national security advisor, said to his followers, "I want you to follow 10 GOP and retweet them as often as possible leading up to the election."
Let me ask you something. Do you think that Mike Flynn in that moment knew that that was a Russian propaganda account?
Yes. Yes.
So why do the Flynn brothers have 7 stars too many still, Jim?
Why did it take 50 fucking years for Donald Trump to get indicted? From the first time the DOJ announced that they were investigating Donald Trump. The brilliant Sarah Kendzior wrote a 50th anniversary tweet to the DOJ first announcing that they were investigating Donald Trump for possible indictment in 1970 motherfucking 3.
Yeah, I'd like to point out once again that Australia had the sense to not allow him to do business there 40 years before we made him president because they said he had mob ties and they wondered where he actually got his money from. So they did not allow him to do a casino in Sydney 40 years before we made him president.
Well, here's the thing. He went to Moscow, right, in 1987, and then he came back. And the first thing he did was put full-page ads out in the newspaper slamming NATO.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't take like a fucking. It doesn't take the FBI to figure that shit out.
No, it actually takes the FBI to run active measures in 2016 to throw the election to Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 50 years to run interference for this motherfucker. I mean, how can you just, anyways. So that the answer, the long-winded answer to the question of how, Flynn, can do this and still keep going. I don't fucking know.
This is the perfect place to have a Sleaford Mod palate cleansing moment with Jason Williamson.
What's he gonna rhyme together this time? I can't wait.
Oh my God! Well, no, this is our interview with him. He's amazing. Okay. Yeah. So let's do the disinfo one where he talks about disinformation first. Do you in your own community, are you already experiencing what we are experiencing here in America, where they keep picking people off. And what I mean by that is that, a friend of mine who 2 years ago completely believed in vaccines now has been brainwashed to think that they, they're dangerous. And, there's all this disinformation through the internet infecting people's brains like a digital poison. And I don't know if you are seeing people that used to think, normally about things turn into like invasion of the body snatchers, or if you've seen any impacts like that.
Yeah, totally. There's songs on the new album that discusses that, where people have been swayed by the lure of conspiracy theories, of
Right.
paranoia, but these people, they weren't saying fuck all 4 years ago. Along comes a vaccine to help people, and all of a sudden everyone's politicized. It's bullshit. So, the vaccine is just one thing. You've got culture wars. The kind of the cruelty directed towards the trans community currently in England is disgusting, and I've noticed it in this country as well.
It breaks my heart, but I mean, this is Hi-Fi said it earlier. This is a global fucking problem. His community, our community. I just learned that somebody really close to me, whose life was saved by Paxlovid, whatever it's called, the stuff that you took, Jim, when you had COVID.
That shit's magic.
Now is saying that this person believes that that drug may have led to these other ailments. And do you know why that person is saying that? Because that person hangs out with fucking Republicans who are telling that person lies that they heard on the internet.
You should tell them to call me, because I got COVID, and I'm old and frail, and I've been sitting on the couch for 2.5 years. I should be vulnerable as shit. And I got that. I got COVID. I was like, oh fuck, I feel terrible. I went to the doctor, and he gave me a prescription, and I took it. I felt horrible for 24 hours, and that was it. That's it. There's no more anything that has ever come so far. Maybe I have some really long COVID or something that is gonna. I'm not discounting it. It's real, but for me, it just went the fuck away because of Pavlovid immediately after I took that shit. So if anybody is feeling, vulnerable to COVID, please listen to your fucking doctor and do what they tell you to do, because, medicine still works. It does. Science is still a thing that works. So I don't know who needs to hear this fucking shit, but math and science and fact and reality and, humans and emotions and caring about other people, all of those things, those are real things. And if somebody's trying to tell you that they're not, find a new friend, find a new mentor, a new cult leader, whatever the fuck you need. But all of the things that you used to think were real, guess what? They were fucking real. Okay? Thank you for coming for my tiny little TED Talk.
Watch Rad Pod, kids. We'll tell you the score. Hey,
stuff is real, man. It's real.
This shit's real. Hey, I would like to see the other clip from Sleaford Mods, if you don't mind, from Jason, because I think it's very, very important as well. I think this is the one about the snake.
Headless snakes.
Yeah. Would love for you just to kind of tell people about it, a bit about it, and then let us know how the shows are going in America, kind of what you're feeling.
UK Grim was just it's just like a post-pandemic album about just a continuation of what all the albums have been really tried to achieve, just snapshots of the here and now of when it was recorded. And a lot of those albums, all of them lean to the politics of that time. And UK Grim isn't any different, really. You know, our government is completely broken down. It's like a headless snake. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's completely out of control. It's transparently corrupt, and it's really weighing heavy on the psychology of the English public, the country, really.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Wow, right? Damn. And the
I
difference.
mean, you know, that's the fucking Trump administration, right? For 4 fucking years. I mean,
and we voted him out, which is nothing short of a miracle, because that's not usually what happens when someone's in the process of authoritarian capture. And that does show that you can't underestimate the American people, but the work is not done, and the infection that he had. I have a little tiny fly that's distracting me. So we have so much work to do, but
better than a big giant fly.
I know, it's so
True.
much better.
Very true.
I have some beautiful lavender that my friend cut for me, and it seems to be very attracted to the lavender. Gentlemen, yeah. So anyway, everybody check out Sleaford Mods. They're actually touring right now in America. They're going to be on Coachella next year. They're rad. It's like amazing.
And again, he can rhyme the word deny with the word grim. And it's not every fucking band that can do that.
No, he's amazing. So yeah, so I have a lot of new members for Heidi Kuda's Substack. A lot of that's thanks to Jim being back on Twitter and the support that I get from people like Ruth Ben-Ghiat. And I just wanted to say that today I spent all day putting together the most important stories that I've written and most important investigations that I've done for the last 2 years. So anybody who follows me there, please read that. It's called Read My Reports, Fight Fascism. It's everything from the first interview I did with Jim, the first interview I did with Dave Troy, our interview with Volodymyr Demchenko, the anti-vax propaganda report that I just did, the nationwide escalation against the gay community in America. It's a lot of really deep shit. So please read it, because it sort of gives you a full scope of what our fight looks like and how we fight back. Yeah. What else?
I got one of those too, if anybody wants to join it.
Your Substack, Jim Stewartson. Yeah. Yeah, you actually did something very important on microcults. Was that today? Gosh, the day's just like
that was this fucking morning.
The days run away like wild horses over the hills, to quote Charles Bukowski.
Yeah.
To quote Charles Bukowski.
Yeah, I think I'll probably do my hellscape on that. So
yeah, okay, good.
But I actually have to run because I have a family obligation. I'm about to meet my future daughter-in-law.
Oh, well,
my future daughter-in-law. You see, I'm wish casting.
That's so exciting.
Are you shipping without a ship being shipped?
Oh, that's all right. These are the things that are joyful in life. My daughter just called me, so I got to run.
Right.
You guys have not asked me about my T-shirt tonight.
Okay, I'm gonna let you talk about the T-shirt. I love everybody. Goodbye. I'm going to dinner. See you guys. Bye.
Yeah. So all I wanted to say is that I was in a really metal mood, so I picked the most metal shirt that I have. This one, Beethoven. All right.
I just wanted to say, like, this week, I got to pick apart some Mike Flynn, Roger Stone,
I saw that.
Floyd Brown psyops. That was fun.
Yeah.
I got to catch one Peter Thiel employee who's a Holocaust denier and a white supremacist in a chat room talking about how they radicalize people online.
Grim stuff.
And then honestly, it's been a pretty lulls-filled week. So Thumbs up.
I would have thought this would have been your Peter Thiel moment, and that would have just taken us out.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.